I love that song. Hey guys, welcome to another session of Recessional of the Red Dragons. Last time, X and Zero actually came to Bebop Bounty Hunter's aid when they were dealing off with Spike and the Swordfish, after he threatened them that he'll blow them into space dust if they ever should spread the word. So, with about 24 hours to go, the war is still on. And unfortunately, the Bebop was actually destroyed by the Swordfish itself, especially from the plasma beam cannon. So, they didn't have a choice but to head to Earth. What will they do there? Well, let's find out. Alright, Recessional of the Red Dragons, Session 6, Rallying Up the Allies. Mary invited the 3 bounty hunters and the 2 maverick hunters to her home in Pallet Town. They, excepting Trudy, were quite amazed of all the little and huge unique creatures scampering about in Professor Oak's ranch. They certainly weren't like any other life form they've seen thus far. Mary explained who Professor Oak was, an elderly researcher that observes Pokemon of all things. He also has a young assistant named Tracy who's a Pokemon watcher and sketches in his notepad of their various activities. Her house wasn't too far. It was just a 2-story colonial with a blanche-painted exterior, massive amber roof that seemed to be rectangular, drooping unlike the other traditional triangular roofs. There were some windows overlooking the front, back, and sides of the house, and the yard was tidy. Inside there was a small foyer, a living room den to the left, a kitchen to the right, plus a stairway leading to her own private quarters. The guys hung out for a while. It was a very peaceful settlement, and Faye seemed to admire it. At least they hadn't been bombarded by meteors yet. Mary flicked on the televid. What everyone saw wasn't so pleasant, as there was a news break concerning an upcoming war. As word comes around, the interplanetary residents aren't taking any chances. All citizens have been stocking up on food, supplies, and weapons for the worst outer-dimensional conflict on record. The Red Dragon's crime syndicate would stop at nothing to destroy all of Mars and eventually impact Earth. The terrorists themselves would never take in any prisoners. Panic is everywhere as they have 2 options: kill or be killed. That seemed to put the gang in a state of great unease and anxiety. Jet and Trudy wondered if Spike would never return to his senses. What must they do? Suddenly a humongous eye with an indigo iris peeked in through a window and blinked. Faye immediately shut the curtains, annoyed at the curious creature. Faye! Soon a large passing silhouette of a bird of prey swooped over the house. Then there were a few light taps on Mary's front door. She opened it and there were 6 Pokemon awaiting her. One was a humongous light blue beast with a tropical tree growing on its back. Another was that bird having tan feathers and a colorful crest. One was a huge butterfly possessing unusually large wings and feelers. There was a sleek opal-colored serpent, a small yellow mouse with red cheeks, pointy ears with black tips, and a tail shaped like a thunderbolt. And finally a small fox with light brown fur and a beautiful orange mane. Guys, these are my best friends, my own Pokemon team. This is Venusaur Seedy, my good old Pidgeot named Sunny, my amazing Butterfree named Moonlight, the majestic Dragonair I call Diadem, and my Pikachu and Vulpix named Daffodil and Amber. Say hi, everyone. With smiles they all greeted the newcomers. Trudy especially was enthusiastic on their coming, while Jet and Faye waved to them in a coy manner. X just smiled back and Zero sat idly. Hi, you guys! The young Content ran up to them. They were just as happy to see her. Their long-distance relationship finally came true after several years. So where are your cousins, Mary? Shouldn't they be here by now? There were a few flaps of gigantic wings as 2 other large fowls landed behind the group. Both women soon met up with the Kanto champion's family. April, who was riding on a menacing crimson serpent, Marina, which got off the broad shoulders of a muscular bipedal chicken, Crystal, who departed from a gargantuan black and white falcon, Lizzie, who got off the back of a massive buck, her half-sister Beth, who dismounted from another deer, and Jenny via her partner's talons that looked close to a phoenix with its blood-red and burnt black feathers. Quintet were astonished by the sight of these women who owned their exotic creatures. This time they didn't hesitate as Mary led them out. And there was April, Marina, Crystal. There was also Lizzie, Beth, and Jennifer, or Jenny. And unlike everybody else, she has a fiery demeanor. And you can read this yourself. I don't feel like describing them. They all introduced themselves as well as discussed the upcoming Red Dragons War, in which the hours were quickly dwindling. They were lucky that while Earth's schedule was behind Mars's by just a day and a few hours, the hunters were still growing anxious to put a stop to it there. Millions of lives were at stake after all, and Mary and her relatives knew about this, thanks to Trudy's desperate messages. Jet was impressed she was able to recruit such people with limitless potential, thinking they may stand a chance. One by one, April, the others introduced everyone to their comrades and also taught them how to strategize using type advantages, use them in combat wisely in terms of strength and speed, and how each trainer must carry 6 Pokemon at one time. They also mentioned there was a war between Kanto and Johto around the time some of the elder cousins were born, so they weren't alone in that regard. The Bounty and Maverick Hunters grew more attached to each other, and it was so strange and shocking that everyone had gone through similar hardships, whether it be great foreign conflicts or civil ones. This had proven they are more than ready for the looming battle they'd be facing. Everyone volunteered to pitch in on their fight against the syndicate using their best teammates. Jet nearly felt sorry for those innocent creatures being used as weapons, but Mary said this was all a trainer can do. Regardless, both he and Faye offered to give each trainer some weapons and ammo as a means to defend themselves. However, without the Bebop, he had no place nor material to make them. That was when Zero offered, "I could take you to our home turf, the Maverick Hunter headquarters in Abel City. It's just several miles north of here." "Yeah, it's a mechanical place that's perfect for customizing weapons and armor. Just hope it wouldn't be too demolished by a revived Sigma again." They both remembered that fateful day when they met their enemy Sigma for the first time. "We're also very promising mechanics. I hear you won for the Bebop." That made the Black Dog admire the Reploids even more, disregarding the fact they're only highly advanced robots. As Mary and her cousins got their equipment prepared, they brought out the flying types. There was Pidgeot, Staraptor, and Talonflame, but also a large owl named Noctowl, a fowl with dark gray feathers known as a pheasant, and another huge fowl that had decorative feathers known as Braviary. A few were able to carry some extra passengers, and with minimal effort, they headed back to the Saffron City airport. As they were heading to the Maverick Hunter base, X remembered the dreadful fight with him, Zero, Chill Penguin, and Sigma, as well as several troops. Back then, Sigma was referred to as the commander of the Reploid forces before Zero took over his stead, while they went up against a berserk mechanaloid that went haywire. He remembered what his former allies said, that there are moments when Maverick Hunters cannot afford to hesitate in dangerous situations and must pull the trigger in order to save the innocent while still endangering a few, and that the hunters have sworn to be both sword and shield of those who aren't fully capable of defending themselves. Together, the flying types, the Hammerhead, Redtail, and the Shuttle reached the outskirts of the Maverick Hunter base. There were many towering structures that were nearly as high as the Red Dragon's skyscraper, if not higher. There were also some domed buildings and multiple complex layers of rails and roads. This seemed to suit Jet quite nicely in this futuristic setting. The sky wasn't as polluted like the bounty hunters dreaded, and it twinkled with stars in an indigo twilight. Everyone landed on the pad that was big enough for all their crafts and Pokemon. A Reploid greeted the group. Good evening, hunters. I see you brought some friends along and they look human. Oh, I see some Pokemon too. What a treat. Come, I will show you around. Digits that as the heroes followed toward the massive lobby with the logo displayed on the reflective tile floor. Each Reploid admired the presence of the humans. They eventually arrived at a dark control room with a massive plasma screen smack dab in the center. The room spiraled around the central area and more Reploids greeted everyone while assembling some gadgets. This is where we receive our mission objectives. It's the heart of the base, assembling weapons and equipment. Iris used to be here, as was X's former partner named Double. Jet asked the Reploids and how one of them could become a Maverick. They explained that it's barely any different than how a human would also turn corrupt, except there could be errors in coding, data, and manufacturing like any short circuits in the brain. Even Zero knew firsthand since he was labeled as a Maverick once, working for his original creator, Dr. Wily, as well as the numerous uprisings including Sigma. Much like Vicious was with Spike, he was a loyal friend to their cause and a skilled combatant. He too was an expert hacker corrupting Reploids' codes and turning them Maverick. Unfortunately, Dr. Kane, the creator of the Reploids, wanted to see what X was capable of, as he was a specimen from his descendant, Dr. Light. During a discussion, Kane stated to Sigma that X was capable of displaying emotions, specifically worry and care for others. Sigma didn't have that kind of affection, and instead was filled with avarice, anger, and violence, corrupting his own judgment. While X was proving to be more efficient than a mere robot that was encased for a century, became vengeful, developed a bad reputation as the enemy he's known to be. After having some flashbacks of the day of Sigma, as well as X's century-long concealment, since Thomas Light wasn't able to see his potential through due to his advanced age, X and Zero remember their enemy's words of resentment, saying that the fight will determine the future of Reploids and humans alike, and the battle may be over, but the war has begun. Then they reminisced following the events of the Reploforce War, and had sworn to never hesitate and fight with all their might to stand up against the Red Dragons to save the fate of the universe. After a hearty meal, X and Zero have mentioned that since Sigma was no longer a threat, the Reploids have been defending Earth in different ways. One of them was to shield the planet from the endless devastating meteor showers and space debris from the ring. They knew about the incident of the failed hyperspace gate experiment several decades ago that exploded and scored the moon, so X and Zero occasionally volunteered. We just can't waste our time rusting, can we? They all seem to get the message. You've been defending Earth from these meteor showers? Yeah, soon after the new management of the Maverick Hunters, we heard about the Earth's destruction in a desolate location. We realized it was once your home. You're greatly sorry for your loss. Everyone wore a somber expression, but the important thing was that Faye finally got her memories back aside from the rare VHS tapes. This actually made Trudy have an epiphany. Before she said something, X spoke again. We've actually been contacted by many repairmen and cementers for a service. One of the damage control crews had two men, a dog, and some hyper red-headed girl who happened to be a very talented hacker. Edward! Eddie! I can't believe it! Right, so if you guys... Right, so if you guys want to see her and her family, I think I'll be coming here by tomorrow. But night's falling fast. I'm sure this must be jet lag for you bounty hunters. I'm sure you guys really need a good night's sleep. Don't forget, we still have one more day the war should start. Why don't you show them their headquarters, X? We've got a lot of work to do as far as armor and technology goes. Need some preparations. What about you guys? I know, Big X. We could simply find a place of our own. I think we should head back to our homelands and regroup later, just so we can say goodbye to our friends before the war. She was hit with a sense of dread. Even though they were highly skilled as champions in their own region, this conflict would certainly be the biggest challenge they'd ever face and may never return. With their flying types, they all headed back. So X showed Jet, Faye, and Trudy where they would slumber for the night. Fate took Iris's colorful bedroom, Trudy took the Colonel's since it was an adjacent room, as he was her brother, and Jet took the General's. After that, X met up with Zero as they made some modifications to the new allies' equipment and armor. It's nice to work with organic friends again, especially the Pokemon that are kind of similar to the anthropomorphic Reploids turned Mavericks we used to have. Yeah, especially since there'd be no way for them to possibly turn rogue. They felt more relaxed at the thought, and within several hours, the enhancements were complete before they got some shut-eye themselves. I think Pallet Town from Pokemon Leaf Green, Fire Red would sound there, and here are the songs for that. Also, Jenny's design was a bit of an inspiration from the character of the same name in Sleepy Hollow. Also, I have to ask, why do both Zero and Spike have so much in common? If I get done with this story, I might do another one highlighting their common traits, which I lost inspiration. I'm not so sure about that. From here, the story's still going to be tough to put together. So stand by, Space Cowboys and Cowgirls. Till then, this is the Ecron Writers signing off.